people just don't want to be sold to. I always say, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. So your headline needs to do a few things. It needs to show that you could be a trusted partner in someone else's network. You aren't just going to sell to them. There are algorithmic reasons as well now to have a headline saying exactly what you do, and it matches up with the rest of your profile. So the algorithm is looking to see if you're trustworthy.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Young. Now, I'm going to use Mark's LinkedIn headline to explain who he is, because I love this. Yeah, Mark is a cat person helping technical AI founders earn trust before the first call. And apparently dog lovers are welcome too, but that's irrelevant to me. I like cats. So, Mark, welcome, sir.
Thank you. That's a kind introduction. Yes.
Well, wait. You wrote it.
Yeah, it's a genius introduction.
That's genius. That's an awesome thing. Well, we'll come back to why you said that and why you said that on LinkedIn, because we're going to be focusing this episode on LinkedIn. And look, I'm just going to put it straight out there, mate. That I think, because you do LinkedIn training and LinkedIn consultancy, and I think a load of it is nonsense. I honestly do. I think it's people. Yeah, shock face. But I think it's people who are just using templates and Canva, and they're just following this little kind of formula, and they don't really get it. Actually, they've learned this basic piece, but that doesn't apply to the customers that they are wanting to engage, and so they're wasting everybody's time. And you don't do this. Let's just make that clear straight up. But am I being fair or am I being grumpy?
It's like discuss.
Discuss.
You're being fair, and this is one way we would have you'd have a beer and discuss this for hours. And in fact, whenever I sort of speak to clients, prospects, I always say, ask 100 LinkedIn consultants a question, you're going to get 100 different answers. So it's a bit Wild Westy out there. Everyone has their own opinions, and it's quite funny how the people who do well on LinkedIn are the ones who sell LinkedIn, the services, whether it's going to be lead generation or content, that kind of stuff. And one of the things people will tell me, and I'll tell them as well, if you want to get a lot of attention, then you're going to have to be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Argumentative, or it's the C word. What's the C word again?
Controversial.
Controversial,
opinionated.
That kind of stuff. So
just have something interesting to say.
Well, saying the opposite sometimes of everyone else. So you're right. So there's a lot of templated stuff out there, and I was one of the ones who didn't ever sell that stuff. But you know what? I bought every single one over the past 10, 12 years. I'm always wondering, what's everyone else doing that maybe I'm not doing? And it's all flowered up and it looks good, but at the end of the day, it was all the same. And these people who are selling a product will, going back to the 100 LinkedIn consultants, will tell you 100 different answers. We'll sell you how they do it. Now, everyone's different though, so if you're selling a LinkedIn service, it's a bit different if you're an accountant, kind of a thing. What works for a LinkedIn service doesn't naturally work for an accountant. But all these tools are there. If you're on LinkedIn a lot, you'll see a lot of people selling these how to do your content and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of templates, but the thing about LinkedIn and all these social media channels is that it's like building on quicksand. Everything changes so fast, and so these templates that you see probably don't work anymore, simply because LinkedIn had a big algorithmic change last year, and so for sure what used to work doesn't work anymore. Does that make sense?
No, it does. So you're saying I'm right.
Yeah, pretty much in a roundabout way. In a
I knew
roundabout
you'd be a good guest.
way.
No, but actually, no, I'll argue with you. It's
Yeah,
contrarian is the word we're looking for. So I'm
that
going to
was
be a
the
bit
one. That was
contrarian.
the C word. Yes.
You know, I think if you ask 100 LinkedIn experts,
Yeah.
I think you'll get 50 answers exactly the same because they
Yeah.
followed that same
Yeah.
playbook that they
Well,
bought and do it.
ju
So yeah, but then you kind of said that when you were explaining it
yeah.
anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what amazes me. I also sometimes get a little bit, what's the word? Lose a little bit of self-confidence. Am I doing the right thing? Because I remember there was a prospect who was told, by his book publishers, we're not going to sell your book until you've got 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, and we want that by the end of the year. So he came to me and a few other people, and I was saying, because he had something like 5,000 followers. It's not possible. LinkedIn doesn't want, number one, its platform to be full of people spamming. Yeah, it does, but there are controls there. It's if you got Sales Navigator, don't reach out to more than 20 people a day. If you don't have Sales Navigator, don't do. So how are you going to get to 20,000 people? Anyway, long story short, guess what? If you go to YouTube, there's videos there. It's like how to get 100,000 followers in 2 days, or I'm being obviously a little bit extreme there, but I actually study these. I'm really into the AI tools, and I take the YouTube transcripts and I put them into Notepad LM or something like that to really analyze what is it, how do we get this many followers so quickly? And guess what? You can't. It's still an absolute lie. You either pump money into advertising, LinkedIn advertising is the most expensive that you can ever get, or you have to leverage someone else's audience. So it's okay if you're well connected to an influencer who can, leverage their audience to there. But if you're a normal mortal human being who's selling a service which doesn't appeal to the world, absolutely no way that you're going to get to 20,000 or 100,000 within a year. That's poppycock. But guess what? It was contrarian. It's against what everyone else is telling you. And so you do it, and guess what? They sell a course at the end of it. So,
Yeah, the claims seem to be getting
mm.
more extreme. It's hard
Oh,
to get
yeah.
20,000 followers in 90 days, has gone down
Yeah.
to 40 days, has gone down to a week, has gone down to two
Yeah.
days, has gone
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
like over lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just people are just shouting and screaming. I think we're kind of going,
Yeah.
do you know what? This is bollocks.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah. Or maybe some people are going, that sounds ace. I
Yeah.
will jump on that. And then there must be because these people are surviving
Yeah.
and they're selling LinkedIn to LinkedIn. That's
Mm.
probably where I do get grumpy in that,
Mm.
and that's fine for you, but do not rock
Mm.
up to kind of my clients say
Mm. Mm.
and give them that formula because these people are selling machinery to other engineering companies, and the
Yeah.
stuff you're talking about will not work for them. It just won't
Exactly.
be relevant.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
keep selling LinkedIn to
Well,
people, and you could.
I think LinkedIn, without going too much into the algorithm changes, and as I said, I don't want to say I was as bad as everyone else.
Let's
I am as bad
update
as
it.
everyone else. Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
update
yeah, yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. But I'd have been using some of these. I don't want to say the templates, but some of the education, some of the formats, and I'd be telling clients, okay, on Monday we're going to do something top of the funnel. Let's put out something motivational, motivational quote. Everyone loves that, and you'll get a lot of engagement. And people who see who are engaging, then the next day the algorithm is going to go, okay, so if you like this person's post, let's show them your post tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'd say let's do a video, and then on Wednesday let's do a carousel, and then on Thursday let's do a written post with a graphic, and then on Friday let's do a poll. I'd be saying let's do all the different formats because everyone has their preferred format, and then we can do all these different subjects because you know a lot of stuff. These days, that's going to get you nowhere. In fact, over the past year, something like 64% of, not 64%, all the big, well, most people lost about 64% of their audience, their views, because of doing all these different things on different days in different formats. So LinkedIn now actually wants you to be very, very precise in who it is or what it is that you want to talk about, kind of a thing. So,
Yeah, that again, that's another thing that annoyed me with all this is this
mm,
pseudoscience. I've studied the
mm,
algorithm. No, I've studied
yeah,
the algorithm. Yeah, I
yeah,
put posts on
yeah,
every day. I've studied the algorithm.
yeah,
And they say things with such conviction. And then this post is written with this formula, which is triggering
yeah,
these behavioral,
yeah,
neuronical things or
yeah,
whatever. And it all
yeah,
sounds very convincing.
yeah,
But again, there's probably elements of truth in it. but it's nonsense.
Yeah.
Look, I use patterns. Yeah, I use a
Yeah.
pattern of engage, educate,
Mm,
entice posts.
mm,
I know you need to mix them
mm,
up, and
mm.
yeah, the posts have a structure. There's hook, there's content, there's call
Yeah.
to action, but there's a bit more in some of them, like emotional and this is this. But
Yeah.
it's more to give me the kind of discipline to do it, just to cover the bases that it's
Yeah.
sort of interesting enough. Yeah, if I
Yeah.
educated every day, oh God, Fred, lecturer. Yeah, if I
Yeah.
just put cat pics every day, actually that'd be good. That'd be
That's
ace.
that's
We should probably do that.
that's exactly what I say. It's kind of like so we slightly disagree on I didn't used to be so much into the algorithm, but I am a disciple of Richard van der Bloom, and I love his stuff. I don't know if he ever leaves the house because he literally does study the algorithm to the nth kind of a thing. So I truly believe on in his work on the algorithm. But it's true. It's like I had a client say the other day. Can you tell me what my top posts are? And it's like I don't even need to look at the top posts. It's the storytelling. People love a good story. As long as your story links back to what you do. Or I said exactly what you said there. It's like if this is all about engagement, just post pictures of cats. Everyone loves cats, and you're going to get a lot of engagement. It's going to do nothing for your personal brand, but people will go, okay, there's likes cats, kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I sellotape a dreamy inside one of my books, so at least it has a little bit of personal brand impact. But
I bought
no,
10 of your books, yes, because of that.
sure. There we go. Oh, look at him. He's got a cat. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. So right. So the other thing I don't like is the
yeah.
outreach.
Uh-huh.
let's not go with. We're going to sound really negative. Like
I can,
grumpy
yeah, go for
grumpy
it, go
guy.
for it.
But the outreach and just some of
Yeah.
the rubbish that people are sending.
Mm,
But let's be
yeah.
positive because what you
Yes.
sent me
Mm,
was worked,
mm-hmm,
and the
mm-hmm,
next thing that you did
mm,
worked really well
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because you basically offered up an audit, and
Yeah.
I had a look at who you were.
Mm-hmm,
So the stuff
mm-hmm,
that you
mm-hmm.
posted, and here
Yeah.
we are coming back to cats. That
Yeah,
did
yeah,
actually
yeah.
make a difference, honestly. Um, right, let's have a look at this bloody audit then.
Yeah. Okay.
And it came back, and it was like
Mm.
the guy gets it. This is
Yeah.
somebody that hasn't sort of done a £97 course and
Mm.
bought a couple of templates and is now positioning himself as he clearly gets it because he
Yeah.
seems to get business,
Yeah.
and he's auditing my profile based on showing or knowing what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm,
do and how to do
mm-hmm.
that better. So
Yeah.
I really like that
Yeah.
because you looked at you look at is it five six sections
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to sort of get a feel for what I'm trying to do or what somebody's trying to
Yeah.
do, and then how
Yeah.
convince me about it. So talk through the things that you look at to
Mm-hmm.
see whether this tool, it is a
Yeah.
sales tool, it's something we can use,
Yeah.
is going to be working for us. Just talk us through those.
Yeah. So I guess it all begins with what does it begin with? So all begins with the headline kind of thing. Your title. So it's one of the most important things. Actually, I mean, even before that, it's the lost for words today. It's the graphic. It's the first thing
The
that
the, the
people
banner,
see.
the banner. Sorry,
Yeah, my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
I've had five coffees. That's what we'll blame it on. So the banner, the banner is your biggest real estate. I don't think we go into that too much on the audit, but people need to know that they are in the right place, kind of a thing. So there's plenty of Mark Youngs out there. So you need to make it obvious that I'm the Mark Young who does LinkedIn content outreach, all that kind of stuff. So that's number one. But then number two is, super important is your headline for a couple of reasons. Number one is that's going to follow you around everywhere. So even if you don't create content, even if you don't want to do outreach, if you're on LinkedIn, you're there for a reason, and you're checking in regularly. And so if you are engaging in someone else's content, which is probably one of the best, easiest, fastest ways to, build trust with your target audience, look to see who is creating content, engage in their content, engage in the top influencers in your industries network. And what people are going to see is your headline. And so if I comment on, say, someone else, another LinkedIn influencer's content, and someone sees my comment and it's a nice comment, not just good post, they'll see my headline, and they'll go, okay, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about as well. And again, it talks about who I help, how I help, And hopefully they would then come back to my profile where they read the full profile, which again talks about who I help, how I help, why people should care, kind of thing. So we look at the headline first, because the headline is super important. Gone the days of just saying, CEO of this company or wherever else. That does nothing, and I don't care. Never, put in things like salesperson, BDM, that kind of stuff, because people people just don't want to be sold to. I'll always say, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to, kind of thing. So your headline needs to do a few things. It needs to show that you could be a trusted partner in someone else's network. You aren't just going to sell to them. There are algorithmic reasons as well now to have a headline saying exactly what you do, and it matches up with the rest of your profile. So the algorithm is looking for it's look to see if you're trustworthy, kind of a thing. So, but what I also like to do, if people are open to it, is add in that little bit of humanization, because at the end of the day, you are still communicating with a human being. And so, we've said, if you go to my profile just now, it says, cat person. Absolutely nothing to do with the algorithm whatsoever. Everything I've said goes out the window there, but cat person. And then it goes into the rest of the stuff that's going to be relevant for the algorithm. It's going to be relevant for the viewer to know exactly what I'm about and who I help and how I would be useful to their network. But cat person, it's just something that people can hook onto. It's a hook point straight away. And people have connected just because of the cat stuff. People have sent me cat pictures. But even away from me, I remember working with an accountancy firm, many partners, about 10 partners I was working with, and very serious. Not all accountants are serious, but they wanted to project this seriousness, except for one person who was willing to give it a go, kind of a thing. And she was, or we got to that she was a Mary Poppins fan, like a huge Mary Poppins fan. She'd watched the film once a month. She'd been to the show, and so we said, Mary Poppins of accountancy land, and then the rest of who I help, how you help. She got double the amount of people accepting connection requests, wanting to have meetings with her, because she was being different. So again, it's like we said at the start, sometimes you have to go against the grain. But for a title, yeah, at least talk about who you help, how you help, why people should care, and add that little bit of humanization in there as well. So we'll look at your
It's funny
headline.
because I can imagine in that
Mm,
scenario that the others were saying you're not being professional,
yeah.
because I've had this
Mm,
argument with people actually.
mm,
Oh, that's not professional. And this was about not just headliners, about
yeah.
posts and everything. It's like, no, no, we've got to do
Yeah.
it professionally. I said, tell me what
Yeah.
professional is. And basically, they described something really kind of
Mm,
boring.
yeah.
And I said, well, I don't think that's professional. And they said, well,
Yeah.
how can you say that? I said, because it doesn't work. So I can
Yeah.
put a picture of a cat looking at a
Yeah.
book, and it
Yeah.
will get me more engagement, more conversations going. That
Yeah.
is more professional. And they go, it's not. I say, well, how are you saying that
Mm,
something that works isn't professional when what you're saying is
yeah.
professional does not work? It cannot
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And it kind of wrapped them up a little bit. And I can
Yeah.
imagine that discussion going on in that practice. Yeah, oh, you're not being professional. Yeah, but I'm talking to more people than all you lot put together. How's it not?
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah,
we have to think that LinkedIn started off as an online CV, online
yeah,
resume for anyone from North America. So,
yeah,
and but people still then treat it exactly like that, which is why these audits that we do, you know, are not so much pretty easy to do, but if you're still talking like about yourself, well, guess what? Nobody cares about you whatsoever unless you're looking for a job. Then no one cares about you. So if you're using LinkedIn properly to do the networking, to maybe find
yeah,
new opportunities, to post content, then just remember that we have a special stat. I think it's still relevant, which is there's over 1 billion people on LinkedIn just now, and only 1% create any kind of consistent content. So that means there's a huge opportunity. So 9% of people are the ones who engage. So start hardly that much though, but we have to remember that 75% of people are accessing social media channels, including LinkedIn, via their mobile phone. So it's not a place where people are going to write a big big speech, whether they agree or disagree or whatever, about your content. But they'll be there. Some of them will give it a like, maybe a short comment. 90% of people are stalkers. So that means they will never, ever give a comment to anyone. So these CEOs and founders or top execs that you want to reach out to, they're busy people kind of thing. They're watching you, but yeah, they're just not engaging in your content. So
A little bit of a scroll when they're bored.
yeah,
Yeah, someone said to me, and I agree with them. It's like people are on
mm,
LinkedIn because they're bored or selling something, or both.
yeah, yeah,
Might be a
yeah,
bit. Oh no, I'm
yeah.
here to network. No, I'm here to
Mm,
learn. And you sell.
yeah.
Come
Well,
on.
the funny thing is that it's almost like, I know I agree with you, but I always say as well, it's just like just remember, if you do go to a networking event, or if someone even refers you, or if you're doing any kind of advertising, elsewhere, people buy people. Ultimately, we live in a world of trust, and you'll do business with those that like, and trust. So whether you're thinking, okay, I need to check out Fred, as you said, you checked out my profile first before deciding whether to write back. And if someone had recommended me to you, then it would be the same thing. You'd check me out. If we met at a networking event, you probably don't even look at business cards anymore, but like, oh, you're on LinkedIn. Of course you're on LinkedIn. Now, if I then went to your LinkedIn profile, it's talking about, I have 20 years project management experience and I'm very good at taking dogs for a walk or wherever. If it's all about you, yeah, no one cares. You've not flipped me over the edge, as they say. Whereas if I'm talking, which is what the about section, which is what we look at
Let's do
next, if you're talking about, again, who you help, how you help, why you should care, maybe if there's a framework there, maybe if you got a couple of, testimonials, your LinkedIn profile should almost be a little bit like a landing page. So, because again, people are doing their buyer's journey. I don't want to go straight to your website, and your website's probably a little bit outdated anyway, kind of a thing, and I don't trust it. I'll trust probably a LinkedIn profile, you know, as a beginning anyway. So the about section we look at for the algorithmic quality. So does it match up to what you're saying in your headline, or your subjects there, or your main topics of interest there that you're going to be helping people with? Are you making it easy to get in contact? So this is something, again, a lot of people don't do. They don't have their email address there or a way to get in contact, which means if I want to get in contact with you, and the only way I can do it is by connecting with you, but you don't like to have strangers coming to your network, and I look like someone who's maybe just going to sell you something, you might not accept my connection request. So I then have to try and find your email address, or go
it.
to, yeah, people give up. So to make it easy for people to get in contact as well. But the way that we're doing the audits are to make sure that you're talking about, one or two, maybe 2 to 3 subjects maximum, because we're probably getting to the algorithm. But the way to imagine this algorithm just now is that LinkedIn is the library, the algorithm is the librarian, so it needs to know where to place your books in the library. The audience is obviously hungry for the knowledge, because LinkedIn is very much an educational platform now as well. And so the algorithm needs to know where to point these people, but it needs to know where your book is, basically. So if you're talking about multiple subjects, on your profile, in your content, in your headline, if things aren't clear, then these people are never going to see your
Yeah.
content, kind of a thing. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. It's like,
mm,
I went and looked at your profile, and this is just how people work, isn't it? It's like,
yeah.
am I about to waste my time?
Mm,
I'm not a big fan of wasting my time. I say me. Look, this is somebody who's using it. Let me have a look. Okay, I know this looks as though it's interesting. Why does
yeah,
it look as though it's interesting? Because you've talked to me about something I'm interested in.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in that thing that you said, which happens to be the problem I've got, that thing I'm struggling with, the
yeah,
issue or the opportunity I might have. That looks like it could be an investment of my time. And there's a little, as you say, bit of kind of, you've nailed what it is, you get
mm,
it. You've now shown me that there's a way of doing something about it. You're not talking about your product, you're not talking about your offer,
yeah,
you're not talking about your service. And that's what so many
mm,
people will put in that.
yeah, yeah,
In a 3 word, I talk to people in sales. It's about problem, not product.
yeah,
Keep on that track,
yeah.
and you broadly that will serve you well. Now there's tons of
It's
ways to do
true.
it, but Yeah.
It's true. It's like I can't remember who came up with the analogy. I wish it was me, but it's not. And it's kind of, but I've seen it in action several times. So, for example, I was working with a career coach, and we had a really good relationship. Still do have a good relationship, and but he did say, "But Mark, I'm going to check out this person because." Because it said on their profile and they'd approached them, we work with career coaches in London to help them do this. And it's just like, wow, I hadn't eaten my own dog food, as they say, because I was still so general that I looked like I helped everyone. And you can help everyone, What's the other analogy or word? Sell to anyone who wants to buy your service, sell to them for sure, but market to a niche. And this is what this person had done.
Yeah.
They decided they wanted to work with career coaches. It looked like they only work with career coaches. You go to the website, they help everybody kind
Yep.
of a
Yep.
thing. So
Yep.
there's another, but the analogy there is that if you're in a party, it's the same kind of thing. It's like you could be so engrossed speaking to someone, then suddenly you hear your name mentioned, and then you're distracted by someone who can help you because they're now pointing you out, they're saying your
Mm.
name. So the more that it feels like you are in my world because you're talking about the industry, you're talking about the job title. I help CEOs who are in manufacturing companies who are burned out, who blah, 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 wherever, the more that you can niche down and make it feel like this person gets my world, then the more likely they are to want to have or be open to a conversation with you, or don't even worry about that. The more likely they are to want to connect with you because people don't get up in the morning wanting to be sold to. And just because you've connected doesn't mean to say I want to speak to you. I've got plenty of stuff going on, but it's the first bit,
Yeah.
is trying to get that connection. And then after that, nurture with content and so on and so forth.
Is this one of the hardest things to help people with and to get them to do? To niche
Oh,
down and to be hyper focused in who they're speaking to?
oh, yeah, yeah. It's
That's a
the
loaded question, wasn't it?
No, 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 no. But I was reading a book. I can't remember. He's quite a famous guy. I've forgotten his name. Obviously, that famous. But I
Oh,
remember
pretty much by someone. What was it about? Something.
yeah, yeah. Well,
It's great.
his first chapter was, do you know what I hate? I hate marketing agencies who tell you to pick your niche. It's just like so. And he said, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know who my niche is, kind of a thing. Is just like sort of, it's true. Particularly for entrepreneurs, because we all want to help
Yeah.
everybody, but
Yeah.
I will, particularly through our initial alignment session, try to go, okay, if you had a type of inquiry that was coming in every single day from a certain type of customer, what would be heaven for you? What would be the dream inquiry coming in every single day? And then people are quite good there. It's just like, so actually, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to speak to coaches or consultants, or is it founders? So because the conversation that you would have with someone who is a founder, let's just say I'm selling LinkedIn services to founders. So it's a different conversation to them as it would be to a coach. Mechanics of LinkedIn are all the same for everybody. And so when people say, "Have you got experience in this industry?" I don't have experience in this industry, but LinkedIn, is LinkedIn kind of thing. So it doesn't really matter. But I want you to believe through the profile that I do only help founders in AI startups. Of course not. I do help everyone else as
Yeah.
well. But if I'm doing a campaign, the other point there is, again, as well as coming back down to the way the algorithm works, it needs to be trained in itself for about 90 days so it knows who you help. And if you keep changing who it is that you're helping, who you're having a conversation with, then it takes a lot longer.
You've used a word there that I found incredibly helpful when I was doing
Hmm.
this. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I train people to do this.
Hmm.
You picked me up because I hadn't done
Yeah.
it as well as I should on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the guy who said, I hate people that pick niches, da 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 da, but I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
people that run effective campaigns. It's
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
hey, it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
A niche is a
True.
campaign, isn't it? Okay, it might be an extended campaign, it's doing that. And what,
Yeah.
when I went through some training,
Mm-hmm.
um, what we're learning is that if you talk to your niche, because you're
Yeah.
tighter, you're more accurate, you clearly know what you're saying,
Mm.
you're actually quite attractive to other people as well. Because it's like this guy knows his stuff, the clarity of message here. Do you know
Yeah.
that you're saying to engineers? would that work for me in this company? Like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a sales process and well, there's five things
Yeah.
to it, which actually would
Yeah.
apply pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's kind of where I got that, sell to anyone but market to a niche. Because again, I think back 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching someone do a LinkedIn training audit, not audit, LinkedIn webinar, sort of, and I was so impressed by them that I was just like, I need to work with this person. And I checked them up and I went to their website, and it was just like, we help, and they're Australian, we help pink pretty coaches achieve blah 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 blah. So it was very much aimed at the female coach audience, which I wasn't. But I
yeah.
said, could I maybe still join that
Well, go.
course? It's
No,
like she's
be
going,
gone.
yeah, well, no, absolutely join it, kind of thing. It's just I wasn't her target market, but she would sell to anyone, but she was
Yeah.
marketing to a niche, and then it was like, okay, so
Yeah. So okay. So we talked about headline. We've
yeah,
talked about the section.
yeah, the about yeah,
And the other thing you talk about is credibility signals. So
yeah.
why is that different to, or how's that different to the section then? What are we doing with that?
That credibility is again knowing that you've only got a few moments to impress someone, get their attention. Because the members have said that they're scrolling on their mobile phone. So from a piece of content maybe, or from that sort of referral to your LinkedIn profile, okay, headlines got me. But remember again as well, people aren't typically reading top to bottom. That's not how the human mind works, kind of a thing. So I've seen your headline, I've seen your about section, but I'm probably my eyes are jumping from here down to this section, down to this section, back down to that section. So the credibility as well, people are wanting to see what else you've been up to, and we need to try and fit it in with because again, the algorithm picks up on this. It should be telling one story. Very hard if you have been jumping from different jobs in different industries, but just keep aware that the algorithm is looking for this continuity. So you are an expert in podcasts, you are an expert in sales coaching because before you had your own company, you were a sales trainer here, you were a sales manager there. This person knows a lot about, it's all about trust. As I said, social
Yeah.
media channels will come and go, but trust is the main factor which encourages people now, in the past, in the future. So,
So, I mean, so I'm just looking down here
hmm
at the
hmm
report I've got. So, yeah, we talked about
yeah,
headline clarity section, about section, credibility signals, ICP clarity. We kind of touched on that. It's like being very
yeah,
clear
yeah,
about who you
exactly.
target, what are their problems, what's their
Yes,
pain, what's their prize.
yeah,
Talk to that. Call to
yeah,
action, strength. You mentioned
hmm
in the thing,
yeah,
because all of these, I want to come back to that trust
mm,
thing.
yeah,
And I talk about trust hell of a
mm,
lot in sales. I talk
yeah,
about partnering skills. I talk about, that's one of the elements of
yeah,
PQ. There's a marvelous equation for
hmm
trust,
hmm
which is T equals C plus R plus I divided by S. So it's like credibility plus reliability plus
yeah,
intimacy. So yeah,
yeah,
credibility. Look, I know my stuff. I've written books on it. Blah 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 blah.
yeah,
Reliability. I say what I'm going to do. Look, here we go. Have some things on me. Intimacy.
yeah,
Hey, look, I'll give you a little bit of information.
hmm
It's all divided by S, isn't it? This
yeah,
self orientation.
yeah,
And it's like the people who will build trust the most aren't doing it for their own
mm,
benefit,
hmm
but they also have the other party's best interests in mind. And they're
yeah,
trying to do that. So they're kind of generous, they're giving, they want other people's success.
yeah.
Can we do that on LinkedIn? Can that, is it a
Well,
platform where we can start to tap into that as being probably the
yeah,
biggest trust building thing?
yeah. It's yes, yes, no, maybe because as we said at the very, very start, if it works, then everyone does it. We've all seen, particularly on LinkedIn, if I could get you an extra 10 customers by lunchtime today, would that be worth a conversation? Yeah, except I fell for that maybe 2 years ago, and you would never get me or even bought a service kind of thing. So the problem with any kind of marketing is that if it works, then everyone would do it, and then suddenly it doesn't work. So I always say to people, if I could get you 10 meetings before lunchtime, do you know what? I'd be selling the course on how to do that and make much more money than probably actually doing it as a service. So how then do you build trust? It's super hard. So number one, there's many people who are on LinkedIn but then never go back to it until they're looking for their new job. So there's certain things that you could be looking for. So number one is, making sure that you know who your target market is, and maybe even having Sales Navigator, the premium version of LinkedIn. So have the premium version of LinkedIn. Use the filters to find your target market. Let's just say CEOs of IT companies based in London, as an example. Now you've got that filter, there's something which is posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. Hit that. So now you know who's regularly on there. So that's number one. If I want to build trust with these people, even before sending a connection request, I might engage with their content for about 30 days before, sending a connection request. Maybe not 30 days, but at least, 10, 20 days, something like that. And so what that will do is, we have to realize people who are creating content do want to engage with as well. So if you're one of the people who is engaging, and remember, 1% create content, 9% engage, hardly any, 90% of people are just viewing and stalking. So if you actually say something sensible on their content, they will go, well, that's nice. And then they will look at your profile and it talks about who you help, how you help, why people should care, cat person, wherever. And then you're starting to build a bond. So it's a bit like, if we went to a networking event and I wanted to speak to you, but then time flies by, so I don't speak. But next week you're there again. But again, I just didn't get a chance to get around to you. And next week I see you again. There's nothing icky then about going up to you and going, we never get a chance to speak, do you? Because we've seen each other, regularly. Same thing on LinkedIn. The more that you can turn up on someone's, commenting on their content, then they'll feel a bit of an affiliation with you and be, you're building trust that way kind of thing. So engage in the content and yeah, just be.
Can I just jump in? Sorry to, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
you're
yeah,
afraid,
yeah,
but
yeah.
this commenting thing, because
Yeah.
this all took off recently, didn't it? Oh,
Yeah.
comments on the new post, getting comments. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it pushes your profile up. It's a
Mm-hmm.
bit
Mm-hmm.
self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what you're saying, because then people will see you and be interested. So then, of course,
Yeah.
this out of this was born a new industry of the AI
Mm.
comments,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
which
course.
have to be the most, I don't know what word I'm looking for, the thing that's going to backfire on you the most. It's like you're
Yeah.
going at scale to look like a complete clown.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
tell. Repeating my post back to me,
Mm.
yes, of course I'm happy with that because I wrote it
Yeah.
and I believe it. So
Yeah.
this was someone who didn't really understand that oh, psychologists they'll
Mm.
like it because they said it. Yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
obviously you've done it. You've engaged for your own benefit, not for me. You don't care. I think you're a
Yeah.
clown. I'm never going to speak to you.
Yeah.
Forget
Yeah.
it.
We're always
Okay.
trying to find shortcuts kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But again, the LinkedIn algorithm is detecting these things now. One of the most popular types of posts on LinkedIn now, but it's going to get less and less popular because LinkedIn telling us we don't want people gaming the system. But it's one of those which is like, if you want my ebook on how to become a millionaire by lunchtime, comment potato below. Potato, 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 potato. And again, that used to trick the algorithm into thinking this must be a good piece of content. Let's show it to more people, and it did, and then more people would type potato. It now knows that actually this is mainly people trying to game the algorithm, or there's fake comments on there. So these things that are working are getting less and less and less and less sort of
But
useful.
that was also to
Mm,
so for me as the LinkedIn coach, I can get you
yeah,
20 leads by lunchtime.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, let's put together. It could be a manky bloody what do you call it,
yeah,
lead magnet, but it'll
yeah,
sound great. People comment
yeah,
potato. How many people
yeah,
comment potato? 20. There you go. There's 20 leads. But they're
yeah,
not bloody
yeah,
leads.
yeah,
Okay, we
yeah,
define leads differently, I
yeah,
would say. Sales qualified
yeah,
marketing.
yeah,
So there's, yeah, there you go. No, I delivered my promise. You were going to get 20 leads by
yeah,
lunchtime. Hmm.
yeah.
People who
It's
like
it's
look
true.
like potatoes.
It's true,
Yeah.
yeah. But there's a lot of chapters now about intent signals as well. You might
Yeah.
have got this in the sales world, and I've looked into the automations with Clay and HeyReach and Smart Lead and blah 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 blah. And it's just like actually, if you drill it all down, if you're looking for any kind of intent data, and you're right, I wish that we knew someone was looking for a service right
Mm.
now. So unless they are saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a plumber in Clapton," or wherever, But if people are actually commenting on your competitors' posts, then number one, we know that they're on LinkedIn. So if they're commenting, if they're in that 9%, then if they comment on your competitors' posts, it's a good, good feel that as long as your profile talks about who you help, how you help, why people should care, that if I then try to connect with that person to get them into my network, not to pitch them, definitely not pitch them straight away, but get them into my sphere of trust, kind of a thing, circle of trust, and then nurture them with the content, which is all focused on that ICP. There again, you're building up trust that way.
ICP, who probably
Mm.
aren't in the market at the moment,
Yeah,
because only
yeah,
3% or something at
yeah,
any one
yeah,
time. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, so, but yeah, here's stuff for you. Here's stuff for you. Here's stuff for you.
yeah,
Like being generous with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Have it on me. It'll help you. I hope it does help
yeah,
you. If it helps you,
yeah,
don't need me. Well, great. Don't
yeah,
matter
yeah, absolutely.
because you wouldn't use me anyway. And so, oh look, we could just trust. We could talk forever, but I'm just aware of time now, and we've been
Hmm.
chatting for a little while, and you've given some good stuff, and you do give some bloody good stuff with that audit. You really do. I cannot
Cool.
recommend it highly enough. So I'm going to ask the dumbest question
Uh-huh. Go for it.
that anyone could ask on a podcast. Where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook
Oh,
and
amazing.
yeah. So
Twitter.
LinkedIn,
Send me a
obviously.
letter.
Yeah. Talk to my cat. So
Yeah.
yeah, so on LinkedIn you find me Mark Young Social. So Mark Young Social. And obviously email. So mark.young@lovesocialmedia.com. So and if anyone in the viewership needs an audit just to make sure they're on the right path, then yeah, DM me potato and we'll get that sorted.
We'll know what podcast it's from. No,
Yeah.
seriously, do it. I would strongly recommend
Oh
doing
yeah.
it. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it. I benefited from it. Yeah,
Hmm.
I've used it. Um, and yeah, so potato, they'll know that they've come
Hmm.
from this. But yes, recommend this, recommend this. We will put those links into show notes anyway, so people can
Cool.
find those straight away. But
Cool. Cool.
Mark, brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing a ton. There'll be bits of people I know can take from this, and hopefully we get an inbox full of potatoes. God.
I hope so.
I
Yeah. Very, very
wasn't
hungry.
expecting to say that today.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's from the chase. You watch the chase, and then
I
you
love
wait to
the
the
chase.
very end for the end is like potato, and it's like okay, now I can get on with my life. Potato has been said. So
I watch that every day. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm never going to watch it the same,
yeah,
mate. So much. Thank you so much
that's
for
all right.
coming on.
It's been fun. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the collaborative selling scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.